They once called it untouchable, a brand draped in silk scarves, shielded by ironclad exclusivity, and worshipped by billionaires. But almost overnight, that illusion began to crack. Allegedly, its mystique, the very thing that made it powerful, was shattered when Chinese manufacturers exposed what was behind the curtain, triggering global price drops. The Parisian powerhouse is now bleeding prestige, profit, and public trust. Why? Because factory owners halfway across the world decided they had had enough of corporate greed. And with every dollar that falls from a Birkin's price tag, the empire loses a little more of the illusion it so carefully built.
Our artisans, they need to do 4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag. This that you've just seen, the perlage, you need to be very skilled and very
Xianglu Apparel, who supplies the most yoga suits, and it is on the OEM for Fila and Under Armour. Number 2, Hongqi Clothing, who produces yoga suits for Lululemon. Lululemon sells this jacket for nearly $100, but here only costs you $6 to $5 with similar fabric and quality.
Another brick crumbles from the temple of luxury. It didn't come from a journalist, a whistle.
Which Chinese factory supplies for Louis Vuitton? Let me tell you the secret. Louis Vuitton have many Chinese suppliers, but they just don't admit it. 50% of the Louis Vuitton bag are from these two places, Guangzhou City and Dongguan City. 90% of Louis Vuitton silk is from Wanshili in Hangzhou City. I have a friend who is a manager in the factory of Louis Vuitton, and he told me that the similar quality one just needs $50 US. This is crazy, right?
Familiar, but not quite. The bag looked just like an Hermes Birkin, yet the worker called it something else, their Type 001 orange export. Then came the real bombshell. He claimed the cost to make it, including materials, labor, and shipping, was under $200. At first, viewers thought it had to be a joke. But the comment section told a different story. Dozens began tagging accounts, tied to China's vast gray market manufacturing scene, the same underground network of highly skilled artisans that luxury brands have long been rumored to quietly rely on.
Some of Hermes products are made in China. Towels are from Fuyue in Shandong. They also make products for Chanel and IKEA. Beddings are from Yue in Shandong. Men's shoes are from Shachi in Shandong. Tableware are from Gaochun in Jiangsu.
It was my first time shopping at Hermes, and let me tell you how it went.
We got a lot of requests, do Hermes next. And that's why we're here in the Highland Park Mall.
In Italy, made in China, or maybe made in Chile. Oh yeah, that should be a thing, by the way, because some brands get real creative when it comes to...
Within hours, the floodgates opened. Copycat videos began pouring. Artisans filming themselves cutting crocodile leather, stitching silk linings, and embossing logos that looked far too precise to be knockoffs. They didn't even bother hiding their faces. One clip boldly displayed a wall of bags labeled with an H, complete with French-looking serial tags. In another, a factory worker casually shrugs and says, "We make them better than Paris." Soon, influencers jumped in. Fashion YouTubers began frame-by-frame breakdowns, analyzing the stitching, the structure.
Almost finished bags from China factories, back to their own factories, and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something.
Even the zipper styles matched, those found on authentic Hermes inventory. One viral video went a step further, comparing Birkin bags from the Guangdong factory to verified pieces from luxury resale sites, and the craftsmanship was nearly identical. The implication? Hermes' carefully cultivated image of European exclusivity and heritage might actually be stitched together in the heart of South China's industrial zones.
But the finishing touches on a Kelly, the most difficult bag to build. It starts with 30 distinct cuts of leather and can take 20 hours to complete, 4 hours for just the handle. There are no manuals or cheat sheets. Artisans rely on their training and muscle memory to make every bag.
Suddenly, people weren't just shocked, they were furious. Hermes built its empire on exclusivity, prestige, and the allure of handcrafted mystique. But if Chinese ghost factories are truly producing up to 80% of the world's so-called made-in-France bags, then Hermes didn't just mislead the public, it betrayed the very myth it sold for decades.
Luxury bags carefully handcrafted in China. The viral TikToks from Chinese factory workers, the internet is now in a frenzy over claims that some of the most iconic designer bags are actually born in...
It didn't just tell a lie, it profited from it to the tune of tens of billions. So, when rumors surfaced that Hermès was quietly slashing global prices in the wake of the scandal, it didn't look like smart strategy. It looked like surrender. And what came next lit the entire fashion industry ablaze. Once the internet had the receipts, the outrage exploded like gasoline on fire.
I spent over $100,000 of my own money dissecting luxury bags, cutting them open, analyzing every stitch, every layer. Why? Because I had to know what made those bags so.
So Hermes has put out a response to China, and they have like a video in a factory sort of showing people trying to show that they're actually the ones who are making the bags in a factory somewhere in.
Viewers didn't just watch the factory exposés, they dissected them. They paused the video, pulled out their calculators, and ran the numbers. A $38,000 boutique Birkin versus a $400 production cost. That's not luxury, it's legalized robbery. And the worst part? People felt duped. TikTok turned into a courtroom overnight. One creator stitched the original factory video with the caption, "This is why your rent's late and your credit card's maxed. You didn't buy a bag. You bought a fantasy, and it scammed you." That post alone racked up 14 million views in 3 days. Soon, a wave of content creators piled on. YouTubers dropped explosive titles like Hermes Exposed, 40K bags made for pennies, and luxury lies you believe and still pay for. Even finance influencers got in on the action, comparing Hermes to the next Theranos of fashion. Smoke and mirrors, a stitched-together dream sold to the ultra-rich. Meanwhile, Wall Street flinched. Hermes' stock plummeted, shedding billions in market value in a single afternoon. Hedge funds scrambled to dump luxury shares. Analysts nervously downgraded LVMH, Gucci, and Chanel, fearing similar exposés might come next. The luxury sector wasn't just bleeding, it was spiraling. The outrage wasn't limited to digital protests. Allegedly, protesters in Hong Kong showed up outside an Hermes boutique holding signs reading "Greed and Orange." One influencer was photographed tossing a Kelly bag into a trash can, shouting, "I'm done with heritage lies." Faced with a global reckoning, Hermes' leadership reportedly called for an emergency board meeting. What came out of it was a decision so unimaginable, so humiliating, that it sent shockwaves through the fashion world. Global prices slashed by up to 30%. For some, it looked like a white flag. For others, it was proof of guilt. Either way, the illusion was shattered. While the internet was in flames, Hermes' flagship stores in China experienced something far worse: silence. Just a year earlier, Shanghai's Nanjing Road location was a circus of opulence. Customers waited in line like it was a nightclub. VIP shoppers sipped champagne while browsing, bags under armed security. But now, crickets. Store traffic dropped by more than 50% in less than 2 weeks. Sales associates stood idle as regulars walked by, uninterested. Rumor has it, one store didn't meet its daily revenue quota for the first time in 5 years. Whispers got louder. The Chinese luxury consumer was done with Western brands that had been secretly mocking them. Internally, the panic was palpable. During an alleged emergency earnings call, Hermes' CFO reportedly admitted, "We've lost control of the narrative." The brand that once weaponized silence as mystique had suddenly become the loudest scandal on the internet. The solution? Immediate price cuts, first in Asia, then Europe, and finally, the US. The goal was clear: stabilize the bleeding and keep just enough allure to prevent longtime clients from walking away permanently. But the damage wasn't just reputational, it was generational. For millions of shoppers in their 20s and 30s, this wasn't a scandal, it was a wake-up call. Desperation doesn't begin to cover it. Allegedly, the CFO told board members, "If we don't act now, our brand equity dies in 6 months." But the most brutal blow wasn't on the sales floor or in the spreadsheets. It was under flashing cameras, in million-dollar heels, where the Hermes brand was about to face betrayal from its biggest megaphones, the celebrities who made it famous. In the first place, that's where everything began to unravel even faster. Celebs who built their identities on flaunting Birkins suddenly looked cornered. Cardi B deleted an Instagram post featuring her rainbow collection. Kim Kardashian issued a curt statement claiming she was reviewing brand partnerships. Victoria Beckham, known for treating Birkins like gym bags, canceled an appearance at an Hermes pop-up. The message was clear: no one wants to be associated with corporate greed that's just been dragged into the daylight. As celebrity support collapsed, resale values plummeted. The resale market, once propping up Hermes' aura, saw mint condition. Birkins flipped for double their retail price in hours. Not anymore. StockX listings were flooded with red arrows. Vestiaire Collective's algorithm showed prices dropping 45% overnight. Resellers cried foul, accusing Hermes of rug-pulling the secondary ecosystem that had made the brand not just a handbag, but an investment. Auction houses postponed upcoming luxury sales, terrified that their lots would tank. Investors demanded answers, and Hermes' boardroom went to war. Louis Vuitton quietly trimmed prices on select models in Asia. Gucci dropped hush-hush loyalty rebates in WeChat ad groups. Even Rolex, feeling the tremors, lowered authorized dealer premiums in Hong Kong. The luxury cartel had never looked this vulnerable. Analysts warned that if another factory whistleblower came forward, the whole industry could face a margin apocalypse. With every brand scrambling to rewrite their supply chain fairy tales, Hermes' alleged price slash looked less like a tactic and more like the starting gun of a price war that no one could afford. So, where does that leave the House of Hermes? Price slashes might buy them a quarter or two, but let's be honest, the spell is broken. The allure, the wait lists, the myth that a Birkin is worth more than your car. All of it worked because people believed it was sacred. Now that the internet knows the emperor's scarf costs $18 to weave, and the handcrafted magic can be replicated in a Guangdong warehouse, that belief is circling the drain. And the worst part? There's no going back. Once trust is shattered, in luxury, it doesn't rebuild with a clever campaign or a new logo. It demands total transformation. If Hermes wants to survive this, they'll have to pioneer something no elite brand has ever dared to touch: radical transparency. Labor wages, supply chains, true material sourcing, honest profit margins. Because if they don't tell the story, TikTok already will. Gen Z and younger millennials aren't buying prestige. They're buying purpose. They don't want to hear that a bag costs $40K because it's exclusive. They want to know why it costs $40K when the person who stitched it barely made a day's wage. Unless Hermes can answer that without flinching, they're not just risking profits, they're risking relevance. The next version of luxury won't be built on crocodile skins and velvet ropes. It'll be built on values that hold up under scrutiny. And Hermes, for all its pedigree, is standing at a crossroads. Cling to the fantasy or rewrite the narrative. Because Chinese manufacturers didn't just reveal where the bags were made, they yanked the curtain off the entire industry. The spell is broken. The performance is over. Now the question is, will Hermes rise from the ashes or be remembered as the blockbuster of handbags? Adapt or watch the orange box fade to gray.